What's up, everybody? It's Sunday morning right here. I'm in PA, right outside Bucks County, and it's snowing, but it's only the last 2 days. Um, just listen, shitty weather, in my opinion. Like, I want nothing to do with it. I've been under the weather all week. I haven't been able to do many lives. Finally, just getting my voice back, which has been great. Finally getting my voice back. But listen, I had to pop in and talk about a few things because so many different discussion points have arisen since I've been ill and since I've been sick and all surrounding Philadelphia sports. I was all ready to go this morning on a nice betting talk show, talking about the upcoming games, reviewing what happened yesterday. I was all ready, but a good friend of mine, awesome dude, awesome person, very passionate Philly sports lover and advocate. And by the way, if you want to get involved in the discussion, very, very simple. I just posted the link. Very easy. Either comment away, okay, or you could cop on that link. It's easily on your phone. Just click on it. You give me a call. I'll put you live on the air. No, listen, no camera, just voice. That's it. I would like, is the Jalen Hurts hate justified? That's question number one. We're talking two things today: Jalen Hurts hate justification and the Bo Bichette saga in Philadelphia. Who do you blame? Do you blame the Phillies? Do you blame Bo Bichette? Right. So I think we're going to have a lot more discussion based on the Jalen Hurts situation because I'm going to read a ton of comments. Not, and I won't. These are going to be name drops. These are going to be comments. Okay, and if anybody on that thread, okay, that I was going back and forth with, that was listening and reading, they're going to know whose comment it is, which is fine. This isn't about any kind of hate or any kind of negative. This is about debate talk at its finest. This is unscripted. Okay, this is unfiltered. There's no narrative driven here. This specifically the way we feel. And I really want to understand, I do, why people feel a certain way. Right. And I want to just go back and forth and give my thoughts on the why I don't think that the point is valid, in my opinion. May be valid in yours, which is fine. I'm not here to have you jump off the way you feel. I would never want to do that because that's what makes sports so great. Again, Tony Cutillo right here at the Tony Cutillo Show. Make sure you listen. If you're not on YouTube, get over to YouTube, follow at Tony Cutillo Show on YouTube, subscribe, hit that notification bell. And as always, let me know what you're feeling. Let me know what you're thinking on this shitty ass Sunday right here. It's a good day to just hop in your pajamas, right? I got my nice Phillies thermal mug that I got for Christmas from the wife, keeping everything nice and hot for me. Got the hat from my daughter. Got the Mitchell and Ness gear. Shout out Kyle Troop from Mitchell and Ness as always. But listen. I again, I have to. I have to talk about this Jalen Hurts hate in Philadelphia. It's beyond insane to me. I don't for the life of me understand. And I don't understand. I don't know if it's because it's the quarterback position in general, because we dealt with this with Donovan McNabb in Philadelphia for so many years. We dealt with this in Donovan McNabb for so many years. People hated on Donovan McNabb consistently. And now a lot of those same people will say he was the greatest quarterback in Philadelphia sports history. Okay? A lot of those same people will say the same thing. Okay? And he never won a damn ring. He never won a Super Bowl. But those same people that were ridiculing Donovan McNabb, okay, are the same people that are saying now that he is one of, if not the best, in Philadelphia sports history, in Eagles history. And right now, we have a quarterback in Jalen Hurts. And I will say this. And continue to say it. I've never been one of the people that pop on here and say, Jalen Hurts is elite. I understand Jalen Hurts is not an elite quarterback. Even though the guy never won a Super Bowl, this guy I'm going to say, even though this guy continues to come up short in Josh Allen, if I was starting a franchise tomorrow, I would take Josh Allen over Jalen Hurts. I just would. However, just because of that doesn't mean that we don't have a very, very capable and good quarterback here in Philadelphia to lead us again. My man Adam checking in already says, I don't want to hear anything about Josh Allen being better than Hurts. He couldn't win when Mahomes, Burrows not in the playoffs. Listen, Adam, that's a valid argument, right? A valid argument. Everybody talks about Josh Allen. I just said it, right? Everybody talks about Josh Allen. Well, Josh Allen hasn't been able to win a big game. Josh Allen has not been able to win the big game. He came up short once again. And here's where the whole argument about team pisses me off. Because a lot of people in the Hurts discussion that will say that Jalen Hurts is not the guy, will say he's only the guy because the team's built around him. Okay. Well, those same retractors, those same people will argue Josh Allen doesn't have enough around him. So wait, what is it? You're telling me Josh Allen is the better guy because he can just do whatever he wants with nobody, but you're telling me Jalen Hurts only does stuff because of people around him. But Josh Allen needs people around him to be better. This argument doesn't make sense, people. It doesn't make sense to me. None of it makes any sense. We consistently like to bash our players in Philadelphia. We do. When things do not happen the way we want them to happen, we want somebody to take the blame, and I get it. But this major deflection to me in Philadelphia that's going on, that is shifting everything from a head coach to me, who's a clown show, who's not a leader, okay? He's not a leader, all right? People want to say Jalen Hurts isn't a leader, but Nick Sirianni's not a leader either, in my opinion, okay? And I want to say, now I'm going to get to all these comments that I was going through and I was sifting through. And I want to get to them because a lot of them were good. It made me think certain ways, but it also gave me some very, very valid points to talk about. Very, very valid points to talk about. Adam says Josh Allen had good players around him like Diggs and Kincaid. Maybe is it the heavy coach McDermott? I can't stand McDermott, by the way. I am so happy the Buffalo Bills. I don't care if you want to say it's the refs. I don't care if you want to say whatever it is. I don't care. I can't stand Sean McDermott. Go cry me a little river somewhere, dude. You're nothing but a bitch boy, in my opinion. All you did was cry and bitch and moan. We all know it about the tush push. The tush push, it's going to hurt my players. I'm here for the wellness and safety of the team, and you've run it more than any other team in the entire NFL this year. So good for you, McDermott. Enjoy your vacation. Go put some popcorn up and watch the teams you could have beat. Watch them win a Super Bowl. Congratulations. Right? Kevin, my cousin Kevin checks in and says, Josh Allen almost did it with scrubs. I agree. I would take Josh Allen. Plus, he has a refs on the side, 2 horrific calls. I honestly don't think they were horrific calls, Kev. I don't. I will say this. Now, I'm not going to go with the possession catch and all that. I honestly, I'm not an analyst. I have no idea. Honestly. Like, I know there's a lot of people that want to jump on social media and talk like they're referees. I don't know. However, the pass interference at the end with Tre'Davious White, that was legitimate pass interference. The one on Mims, I'm not sure. Okay? But the one with Tre'Davious White was obvious. However, they did let them play all game. So why call that then? That's the only thing I will say. I agree it was a foul, but I don't understand why they just decided to call it that game. So I will agree. My man Kevin, my cousin Kevin says, obviously sarcastic on that side. That was horrible. No, listen, I agree. But my thing is, my man Javon checking this is one thing that Josh Allen has to be better about going forward is his turnovers. Yes, he's a gunslinger, man. He is. Like, and I feel this is where I feel the team didn't do him a disservice. This is where I feel like Josh Allen had a little bit this year of the Donovan McNabb effect. Josh Allen had a little bit of, and what I mean by that is for years, Donovan McNabb had nobody. James Trash, Todd Stinkston, right? All these stiffs at receiver when he first came in the league. Torrance Small, Charles John. Did he even? I forget, did he get to throw to those guys, or was that just Dougie P? But my point is, Josh Allen, they took away Stephon Diggs. Okay, they took away Stephon Diggs, the one guy that supposedly, okay, that he felt comfortable with. They took him away. They really didn't replace it. They didn't give him that number one overall guy. So he did have some receivers that aren't like top notch. So I feel like he got the Donovan McNabb effect a little bit. So I feel like that to Devon's point, it made him force a lot of throws. And sometimes when you force throws and you're trying really hard, you miss throws too. Like that throw to Dawson Knox that's a game ender. Is that an overtime? That seam route? Josh Allen doesn't miss that. That's a touchdown. That's a touchdown. But he missed the throw. And I can see why he's up there crying, and I commend him for that. Josh Allen, true leader, up there saying it's on me. Guess who else is a true leader? And this goes against a lot of people in the Facebook comments. Is Jalen Hurts. What did Jalen Hurts says? It's on me. This is on me. He took it all. Didn't deflect. Didn't talk about anybody else. Said this is on me. Same thing Josh Allen did. Here's a difference in sports media right now. Here's a difference in the Philly and national narrative. Josh Allen put up on a pedestal. He's a true leader. He's a GOAT. That's a guy I want on my team because he takes accountability. Jalen Hurts, he's not a true leader. He's not a true leader. You know, he needs to play better. Wait, didn't they just do the same thing? They both took accountability as a leader, but we're hearing Jalen Hurts isn't a leader in Philadelphia, but we're hearing Josh Allen as a leader. I don't get it, man. I don't get it. The one on Mims, yeah, Kev, I agree. That one on Mims, and I think it was the one with Tre'Davious White. Yeah, so that one was with Mims, right? Tre'Davious White. That I think that was PI. If you're talking about the one that got him down to like the one where it was what, like the 8-9 yard line, right? I think that was PI. He got there before the ball. His head was turned. He grabbed his arm, made contact, and then the ball came in. That's a simple call. I don't think it was absolutely blatant. However, my issue, though, is, which I would say, is they weren't really calling that all game. So if they weren't really calling that all game, why call that now? Right? Why call that now? So that's the one thing I will say. So I want to read what spurred me off to this Jalen Hurts conversation. Okay, I do. I really want to read it because I think it's important. All right, I do. I think it's important because there was a lot of stuff, and it was good stuff, man. It was good stuff. So a lot of the comments that I heard were, to me, a little bit ridiculous, right? Here's one. The Eagles won the Super Bowl last year because their offensive line dominated in a way that Saquon Barkley even benefited from and was an MVP candidate because of it. Don't forget, Sanders and Swift, who were nowhere near Barkley's level of talent, like to win through gapping holes created by the real architect, Jeff Stoutland. That is where last year was won, coupled with Vic Fangio. Okay. So let's talk about this comment for a second. So right away, we're giving love to Jeff Stoutland. Let's think about this. Right away, we're giving love to Stoutland University for everything that happened last year and the year before. However, this year, when the offensive line blowed, when the offensive line sucked ass, when the offensive line was missing assignments, when the offensive line wasn't blocking the men that they were supposed to block, no hate towards Jeff Stoutland. The hate's towards Jalen Hurts because Jalen Hurts is limited, because defenses know. Let me ask you something. If that's the case, which I do, I feel like Jalen Hurts is limited, okay? However, if that's the case, if you are a Stoutland University coach, if you are a true leader in Nick Sirianni, offensive guy, right? That's why we got him from Indianapolis. Then when you can't adjust, doesn't that mean you're not a good coach? So when you can't adjust in 18 friggin' weeks, you get no criticism. We just blame the quarterback. This is what I don't understand. So for 18 weeks, except for a game here or there, Saquon was legitimately hit in the backfield. Saquon was hitting a wall when he was trying to run up front. The only time Saquon had somewhat of a successful game is when he was able to run outside on tosses and make his own cuts. So when he was completely stymied, when he had really bad games, when the offensive line didn't show up, we're going to blame Jalen Hurts. Not just Stoutland, nobody. But when Jalen Hurts wins the Super Bowl MVP, when Jalen Hurts wins the Super Bowl and should have won 2 Super Bowls, we're going to say he's not a leader and he sucks. When something doesn't happen this year, but we're just going to say the only reason he won was because of Jeff Stoutland and the offensive line and Saquon Barkley. Come on, man. Like, think about how ridiculous this is. This is what I don't understand. Like, we are just jumping off and I love it. I love the passion, but we're just jumping off our first mindset. Like what we see just because we didn't win. I know it sucks. Yeah, we should have won. We should have been watching our team in Seattle yesterday. That Niners team was obviously inferior, but guess what they had? They had a way better coach. Right? They had a way better coach in Kyle Shanahan, who understood how to attack, who understood what our deficiencies were. Ain't that amazing? When you have a coach that can strategically will you to a win, even when you have a limited team. There's that word limited again. There's that word limited. But again, we want to blame Jalen Hurts. Javon says, can we talk about how in last year's Super Bowl, it was Hurts and his arm, his running ability that led the way. Saquon was held in check in the Super Bowl. Thank you, Javon, because that is correct. A lot of people forget about that. Right? It was only because of Saquon, right? Well, what did Saquon do? What did Saquon do in the big game? Right? Was there a reason why Jalen Hurts won the MVP? Was there a reason why? I'm curious. I am absolutely curious, man, because this is the stuff, man, that gets to me. It does. I know. Again, this is the Tony Cutillo Show. If you're live checking in, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Get on. Listen. Let's go, man. Let's get on board here. Get on board. You want to talk. The link is in the description. Give me a call. I'll hop you on the line very easily with your phone. You want to comment away. Live comments, live discussion. No bias here, man. We're just spitting off the facts. Okay, spitting off the facts. But again, you know, I oh man, like I don't understand where all this hate is coming. I don't. I and I think a lot of it is passion, right? I think a lot of it is passion, and I get it, right? I completely understand, right? Because listen, we felt the win, okay? We felt the win, but I want to I want to bring up exactly what Javon said, and this is why. Please get involved because what I love when people get involved in the discussion, this is what helps me. So, Javon, to your point, let's talk about this. Let's talk about Jalen Hurts, who is not a leader. Let's talk about Jalen Hurts, who we want to run out of town. Let's talk about Jalen Hurts that can't will a team to victory. Let's talk about Jalen Hurts, who is a major problem and is limited. And let's talk about the comments that I've seen that Saquon Barkley and the offensive line are the reason why we won a Super Bowl last year. So let's bring up the box score, shall we? Of the Super Bowl. Let's bring up the box score. Jalen Hurts, 17 of 22, missed 5 passes for 221 and 2 touchdowns. Okay, pretty good. Now, Saquon Barkley, 25 carries. So don't tell me they went away from the run. 25 carries, 2.3 yards per carry, 57 yards. 57 yards. So Steve Spagnuolo said to his defense, we're going to stop Saquon Barkley and we're going to make Jalen Hurts beat us. And Jalen Hurts beat a Hall of Fame defensive coordinator in Steve Spagnuolo. Showed up in the big game where the offensive line could not create holes for their MVP, as you call him, which he did have a phenomenal season, MVP in Saquon Barkley. And we still continue to say Jalen Hurts can't win a big game. See, this is my issue when we bring these arguments. And this is why I say, do we really look inside the statistics a little bit? And I'm not saying the statistics are the end all be all. What I'm saying is, I don't think we really dive in to a lot of these scenarios. I think we just passionately speak. And I get it. I understand. But I do have a hard time understanding why we always want to attack so hard the people who are, in my opinion, that we have in this town that we should be thankful for. Hey, and that's the funny part. Let's just talk about some of the theatrics. And I know a lot of people don't want to talk about this, but I'm going to talk about it. Let's talk about some of the theatrics that go on in the NFL. Number one, let's talk about, and I know it's just a little bit beyond football, which is fine because I do feel when you say Jalen Hurts, when people specifically say Jalen Hurts is not a leader, when I feel like when people say Jalen Hurts is not a leader, that is, listen, you're not just attacking him as a football player, but I think leadership goes on and off the field, which is the Philadelphia Eagle way. We already talked about that. So let's look at the entire NFL as a landscape and see all the horrific human beings that are being employed by other teams that we're all cheering for on a daily basis, but we're going to attack leadership for Jalen Hurts. Can I not remind you that we like even a team right now that's in a Super Bowl hunt has a guy in Stephon Diggs that is actively being pursued in domestic violence issues against women. Rashee Rice, who was already suspended, comes back, plays for one of our guys in Andy Reid in this town. okay, that's getting vilified. Again, Rashee Rice for domestic issues when it comes to violence against women. And now let's bring that back to Jalen Hurts, who is not only the complete opposite, but specifically changed the whole script and flipped the whole mindset where he employs a team of all women, from his agent to his publicist to his media to his communications to his financials, everything. You know why? Because he knew it was time to give them a chance. He's trying to rewrite that script. That's not a leader. That's not a leader, though. That's a guy we want to run out of town just because he's limited. He won us a Super Bowl, could have won us two, outplayed Patrick Mahomes in both of them. Okay, is actually showing what true leadership is about, meaning off the field too. But again, just showing how to spend money the right way, to be financially successful and equipped by coming back from adversity. Okay, by coming back from adversity multiple different times. Okay, multiple times, and to employing an entire staff. Just one example of women, okay, and basically putting his agent Nicole on the map, okay, and she is phenomenal at what she does, okay, and we're gonna sit here and say he's not a leader. I'm at a loss, man. I'm at a loss, and I know that's going a little bit off of the football field, but if we're gonna talk about leadership, especially right here in Philadelphia, where we have a team who's come out and said, listen, if you got a track record of being a problem, okay, of condoning anything when it comes to violence against women or domestic abuse or anything, we want nothing to do with you. You're completely off our list. That means they're looking for a leader. So if you're going to talk about leadership, you need to talk about that too. You need to talk about that too. So let's get to a couple more of these comments, because again, these comments were awesome, by the way, and it's really what fueled me to do this show. And I hope more people will check in with more comments, because as somebody says, so and so, and again, I'm not naming names; these are just for debate purposes. Has always felt Jalen was not a franchise quarterback and never liked him, that he doesn't live up to his hype. Now, can I ask you what that comment means? What hype is he supposed to live up to? What hype is he living up to? Last time I checked, the biggest hype that you can live up to, the hype is that you're a Super Bowl MVP or a Super Bowl winning quarterback, right? That's the hype. And he actually did that already in his young career. He's already done that, but he didn't live up to the hype. What hype didn't he live up to? So what's the other hype? What's the hype beyond winning a Super Bowl MVP? What's the hype beyond winning a Super Bowl? I don't understand it, right? I don't understand it. I've said this from day one. He's not a leader. He's subpar at best. Subpar. Well, I'll tell you what. If subpar gets us to the Super Bowl and subpar wins you an MVP, well, I would look at some of the quarterbacks that been to Super Bowls that were subpar, that still didn't win and still didn't win an MVP. Okay? He's not Rex Grossman. Rex Grossman got to a Super Bowl. Would you say he's subpar? I sure as hell would say he's subpar. They didn't win a Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts, if he's subpar, I'm just saying, if you get to a Super Bowl at being subpar, then you usually don't win. Just saying. Just the demeanor on his sidelines. In my life, Brady, Montana, Manning, Breeze never acted as he does. What does he act? How does he act? Right? How I want to honestly ask. What are we talking about? We're talking about what the cameras show and what they don't show. What the cameras show, because we want to act like he sits there and sulks. I want to say something right now. For anybody who wants to comment that, for anybody who wants to talk about what he's done on the sideline, I want you to bring it back. I hope you were watching the Buffalo and Denver game last night. Were you watching the Buffalo game? Because if you were, I saw multiple times of Josh Allen sitting by himself. No iPad, no teammates, no nothing. With his head down, fixing his beanie, very, very distraught because he was lost. He was trying to figure out what's going on. But I didn't hear one person in Buffalo say his theatrics on the sideline were an issue. I didn't hear one person in Buffalo say, oh, there's Josh Allen. Can't stand his demeanor on the sideline. He don't have no Tom Brady in him. No Joe Montana in him. What the hell are we talking about? What are we talking about? I'm confused. Can somebody freaking help me when we talk about this? This is what I mean by I think it's ridiculous. I'm sorry. I really do. I really, really do. I mean, people are saying, I want to root for the Eagles again. Get him out and I'll root again. What? Really? I don't understand. I think we can agree on Jalen being a good to average quarterback who does special things at times. I agree. It's easy to see now there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes we aren't privy to. What I'll say is this. We watched tremendous quarterbacks in this league not get it done time and time again. Look at Allen, Marino. If the ceiling on Jalen is a Super Bowl MVP, I just can't ignore that. In this league, it's a hell of a lot easier to get worse at the quarterback position than it is to get better. That's an interesting comment. But he's right. A lot. Jalen Hurts is not the answer. Cutillo is weak. Still want to know all this. I love the Cutillo hate, too. Like, nobody even knows this guy. Right? Oh, he's weak. He stinks. He sucks. Been in football for a tremendously long time. Excuse me. I'm still getting over this, right? Passing game coordinator, okay? Under the same guidance when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, but this guy sucks. It wasn't all Cutillo, people. You got to wake up. It says, Sirianni is also not elite. He took over a good program and benefited from incredible draft picks. Yes, time will tell. I agree with the Sirianni part. Sirianni is definitely not elite, right? I agree with that completely. All right. Sirianni isn't Lombardi. However, he had Kellen Moore last year to show what the truth was. Terrible hire in Cutillo. No argument here. If you can't run the ball, though, Hurts is a liability. If he won't run on his own right, not that hard to figure out who thinks he is on the level of the Jordan brand. Now you know what guys like AJ have just checked out, and that shouldn't happen either. See, this is really going to piss me off. This is the kind of stuff that really bothers me. So he's not. The AJ Brown thing is now a Jalen Hurts problem. Jalen Hurts problem. The AJ Brown thing's a Jalen Hurts problem. So now what we're saying is it's okay that AJ Brown wants to be a complete asshole. It's okay that AJ Brown wants to disrupt the sideline. It's okay that AJ Brown wants to take plays off. Did anybody watch the breakdown from Jason Avant last week? Did anybody watch Jason Avant, the breakdown where he showed multiple plays where AJ Brown gave up, where AJ Brown gave close to zero effort because he was crying that he didn't get the ball, right? That's okay though. So we're gonna call Jalen Hurts not a leader. We're gonna blame Jalen Hurts, but we're gonna stick up for AJ Brown, the guy reading books on the sideline that made this this author, a well-known commodity. This is where our society is right now as a football team. What the hell are we doing? I don't understand. I don't get it. We stick up for the wrong people here. I like honestly, when we're talking about the Philadelphia Eagles, I don't understand. Javon says, I think some Eagles fans forget or choose to be ignorant that not everyone can have elite quarterbacks, but you can have a good quarterback, top 15 guy like Hurts, and do good things. Totally agree. Totally agree. I mean, I don't understand. I don't understand, Javon. I don't. I saw the Avant breakdown. Brown isn't doing the little things. Meanwhile, guys like Smitty and here's a name, Darius Cooper, do the little things like run blocking. You know what that's called, Javon? Like you know and I know, and what we heard. What's the one word that we heard the entire offseason? Or I mean the entire season, in season. What were the execution? What was the problem? Execution. What was the problem? Execution. So if your guy is not run blocking, if your guy is missing assignments because he's lazy and he's checked out, which now all of a sudden is on Jalen Hurts, it's not on Nick Sirianni. Not a coaching problem. Not a coaching problem. It's a Jalen Hurts problem. Okay. Okay. So now we blame Jalen Hurts for A.J. Brown's inadequacies. Okay. Especially when it comes to checking out. That's not a coach thing, right? Come on, man. Like, what are we talking about? You hate Jalen Hurts that much. People hate Jalen Hurts that much that we want to throw everything on Jalen Hurts. Everything. And again, I get it. Quarterback, takes the blame, take the blame. I understand that. But does the head coach ever get a blame here? And especially this head coach that we've been told time and time again, his main objective is to just oversee the entire team, make everybody feel good. You know, I'm here. Hey, Nick, I'm good. We're growing flowers. We're planting seeds, right? Everybody feels good. It's like a big Mike McDaniel vape session on the sideline. Like everybody got to be happy. Everybody's always happy. It's Nick Sirianni. Well, guess what? The vape must be empty, and Nick Sirianni must not be inhaling because what he's smoking absolutely sucks. Okay, how's that? How's that? Because that's the way I feel, right? That's the way I feel. And, you know, I think a lot of people aren't looking at this like that. They're just not. And I think because they're so insistent on making Jalen Hurts public enemy number one. I don't understand it. Man, you know, and it's funny. I also saw a couple people in this thread say everything that Jalen Hurts does is rehearsed. You know, that's an interesting statement. Not a, you know, again, this is the Tony Cutillo Show. Make sure you like and subscribe. If you're not on the channel, make sure you get over to the channel, like and subscribe as always. Much appreciated. Follow at Tony Cutillo Show on all social platforms. Always cut these episodes up and having some fun with engagement and debates. But let's get back to the rehearsed thing. Everything is rehearsed. So here's again the hypocrisy of the Jalen Hurts argument. When A.J. Brown was coming out and saying what he felt, writing cryptic tweets on X, standing in his locker room and saying things, right? And everybody would go, man, even though even though I don't disagree with AJ, he really shouldn't have said that. He shouldn't have said that. And coming from a PR guy, I'm a PR guy. I run a PR company, and coming from that, he would say, where's his publicist at? Where is the PR guy right there that said, hey, listen, you shouldn't be saying that, right? However, when Jalen Hurts gives you the PR spin, now those same people don't want Hurts to talk about the way he is and make it rehearsed professionally. Now they want the other end, the same end that they yelled at A.J. Brown for. You see the hypocrisy? Right? This isn't the 6-7 thing, but you see the hypocrisy? This is my problem. This continues to be my problem. My man JD checking in says, Hurts with his experience, learning from all these OCs through the years, he should be OC himself. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. And again, I know a lot of people. Here's the flip on this, JD, and this is what I love. And I love to argue back and forth. So I saw a lot of people in these threads and these comments talk about how the OCs never worked and Jalen gets everybody fired. Okay, so Jalen gets the offensive coordinators fired, right? Okay. So he got two, Brian Johnson and Cutillo, you're saying. Because how about the credit? Does Jalen Hurts get any credit for being one of the drivers in getting Kellen Moore a head coaching position and in getting Shane Steichen a head coaching position? None of that is credit, right? Because last time I checked, under Shane Steichen, he had his best overall season, which, again, Shane Steichen became the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. But we don't give Jalen any credit for that, right? We don't give Jalen Hurts any credit for that. That's all everybody else, right? That's Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni, I guess, gets credit for that. How about Kellen Moore? So but maybe that shouldn't be Jalen, right? I guess in everybody's eyes, I guess that's Saquon. Saquon Barkley. Let's play devil's advocate. So I heard some people say Saquon Barkley is the guy that got Kellen Moore a head coaching job because of his play last year. Cool. So Saquon Barkley sucked this year. So how come he didn't play a role in getting Kevin Cutillo fired then? It's Jalen Hurts' fault. You see it? People, do you see it? Do you see the hypocrisy both ways? See, this is what you guys ain't thinking about. This is what, guys and ladies and gentlemen, this is what you are not thinking about. There is so much hypocrisy, within all these discussions that people don't know which way they want it. And all I'm saying is, I'm not saying you're wrong. Again, what I'm saying is, I think you're very passionate. And at times I do feel you're delusional, but I think you're very passionate. And I think that sometimes you just spark off because you have that Philly passion. You want to win so much. But sometimes I think you need to take a deep breath, step back, and just think for a minute. I got to do a couple more, and I want to swing over to the Bo Bichette saga for a little bit. But again, still taking questions and comments on Jalen Hurts, obviously. Javon says, even after Johnson got fired, he landed an assist. I love Javon. Javon, by the way, going to hop on with me in a couple weeks for a little one-on-one action. We're going to learn a lot about Javon and where he writes and where he started, the ups and downs, how much work it takes to go into this industry full-time, which I'm never prepared to do. That I commend guys like Javon for doing it, being able to monetize it. And, I know he has some stories that maybe people probably don't know, right? But also, just not the positive things, but some of the negative things too that Javon has probably dealt with along the ways, just to give everybody insight. So I'm looking forward to that, and also looking forward to my first one-on-one interview. This coming up this Tuesday. Oh man, JP, my name. Listen, JP, and you'll see. You guys all know JP, but he's gonna talk about his ups and downs as well, which can't wait. So Javon says, even after Johnson got fired, he landed an assistant head coach, offensive pass game coordinator with Washington to work with Jaden Daniels. Interesting. But couldn't work here. But he sucked so bad that he was able to land that position with a guy like Cliff Kingsbury in the fold. Again, it's a great point. But he sucks. He's terrible. Oh, he's horrible. Horrible. Now, you're going to have you're going to have the people to say, well, yeah, because he couldn't do what he wanted here because of Jalen Hurts' limitations. Okay. Jalen Hurts' limitations. So, again, everybody wants to come back on Jalen Hurts. It's crazy. I'm telling you, man, it's borderline asinine to me. It really is at times. It is. It's borderline asinine to me. Um, let's move on for a little bit because so much happened. Like I said, I was dealing with like the flu all week. I finally start. Yesterday was the first day that I didn't take medicine, man. That flu kicked my ass all week, man. I'm still a little congested, as you hear, but what a rough week. The roughest thing was I couldn't pop off on a live and start screaming and yelling like I love to do. Right? I just this is what I love to do. Um, again, now I'm finally getting back online. But let's swing over it again. We'll still talk about, the Jalen Hurts hate that again I'm trying to push back on. I'm always talking about the Jalen Hurts hate because I think it's not warranted. I think it's very hypocrite. There's a lot of hypocrisy within the fan base when it comes to Jalen Hurts hate. But I want to swing over a little bit and let's talk about this Bo Bichette saga in Philadelphia. And I want to talk about it because, I think, again, everybody's going to blame the player. I hear, a lot of it. And I think there's two sides of this story. So Bo Bichette, we hear that was offered a 7-year, $200 million deal by the Philadelphia Phillies, who, by the way, came in extremely late. They weren't in the beginning. They came in late and they missed out. Now, you're going to say that they had an agreement. It was wrong. Let's boo Bo Bichette. We hate Bo Bichette now. We're going to boo the shit out. We're going to throw batteries at him. Whatever. It's all the stuff that I've been hearing about Bo Bichette. And I think it's comical because every single one of the people, like if I could go to all 500 plus of my subscribers on this channel and say, what is your job? And I don't care what your job is. If you went somewhere and somebody gave you a call and said, I'm going to pay you double what you're getting now to do the same job, I'm just very curious to see how many people would renege and be like, nah, I'm good. I think, come on, man. Like, there may be a very small percentage, but you cannot knock somebody for wanting to get paid. You just can't. Okay? You can't. However, what I can do is knock the Philadelphia Phillies for being arrogant, being old school in their theories when it comes to contracts and business mindset, and also for not prioritizing what should have been prioritized in the very beginning. And that should have been Bo Bichette. Let's think about how this happened. The Philadelphia Phillies prioritized JT Realmuto, right? First, it was Kyle Schwarber. I get it. Still think they should have went a different direction, but hey, whatever. So they prioritized Kyle Schwarber. And then their next order of business was JT Realmuto, not Bo Bichette. They only started going on Bo Bichette when it seemed likely that they were not going to re-sign JT Realmuto. Some of the issues in the contract negotiations, some of the demands, some of the sources that came out, right? There wasn't really a market for JT. A lot of different things that were like, you know what? I don't think we're going to sign this guy because he's steadfast in getting his 3 years. He wants X amount of dollars. And listen, I don't think that's going to happen. So we're going to go to the next step. And now we're going to get interested in a guy that we think we could sign long-term. He's a younger player. Think he fits in our lineup, and that's Bo Bichette. We bring in Don Mattingly, was his bench coach. They're trying to put it all together. But here's the problem. Here's the problem. And I forget who it was, or I would give credit to, because I always love to give credit to people I read. But somebody had mentioned, actually, I think it was Jolly. I think it was Paul Jolowitz. Old school Paulie J from WIP. I think it was Paul Jolowitz that mentioned a while ago. Love Paulie J. Love Jolly. When he said that the future of Major League Baseball is going to be short-term contracts with high AAV, and that's going to be when everything flips the scripts. Well, guess what? The Phillies didn't get that memo because the Phillies listen. They sat on their laurels and they said, you know what? We're the Philadelphia Phillies. We've been to the playoffs. We've been to the World Series. We have your batting coach. It doesn't matter. We know the luster of the Philadelphia. We're going to match your offer. We're not going to go any higher. We're not going to get what you know. What we're going to say is you should want to be a Philadelphia Philly. They didn't want to adjust, and that's why they lost. That's why they lost out. Now, am I mad? I'm not mad that we specifically lost out on Bo Bichette. What I'm mad at is that the Phillies are not backing up their part of the deal when you talk about stupid money, right? They're not backing off that part of the deal. And I blame that on Middleton more than I blame it on Dombrowski. I know people want to listen, people want to blame Dave Dombrowski. They want to run Dave Dombrowski through the mud. I'm going to tell you something right now. Dave Dombrowski, in my opinion, has done a very good job for the Philadelphia Phillies with what he's allowed to do. Do you understand what I'm saying right there? What he is allowed to do. Let's flip the script a little bit. So, number one, who makes the decisions for the Philadelphia Phillies? Jeffrey Lurie and then Howie Roseman. Understand what I said? Jeffrey Lurie and then Howie Roseman. So let's go back to the Bryce Harper contract. When Bryce Harper was being negotiated with, when it looked like Bryce Harper wouldn't be here. And at that time, Andy McPhail and Matt Klentak, remember this, right? They weren't the ones to sign Bryce Harper. John Middleton was the one to sign Bryce Harper. John Middleton made the decision to sign Bryce Harper. So what does that tell you? John Middleton makes all the calls, which means if Dave Dombrowski had an open book, an open checkbook, maybe he would be doing the same thing that the LA Dodgers were doing with a higher AAV and shorter term contracts and this and that. However, all Dombrowski is doing is working within the money constraints that he is afforded to work with. That is 100% dictated by the owner, Mr. John, I want my effing trophy back, Middleton. So for all the people out there that want to spin this and they want to bash Dombrowski, to me, it is not Dombrowski. This is 100% John Middleton. John Middleton is the guy who makes the decisions. So if John Middleton wanted Bo Bichette, we would have got Bo Bichette. But guess what? John Middleton decided he was only willing to go so much to get Bo Bichette. It wasn't Dave Dombrowski not offering him a contract of a higher AAV and short term. No, it was John Middleton not doing it. So at the end of the day, how we managed at Dave Dombrowski. Now, do we think that Bo Bichette is worth that kind of coin? Probably not. However, when you run it back consistently with the same players in the same lineup, eventually you do have to cut your losses and you have to say to yourself, you know what? We need to flip the script a little bit. Even if we're going to overpay for somebody and even if we're going to do something completely different, whether we overextend ourselves or not, and it doesn't work, at least we try, right? But they don't want to do that. So again, it's hard for me to get excited about the Philadelphia Phillies. It's really, really hard for me to get excited about the Philadelphia Phillies. But here we are. Here we are. Because 5-6 hours later, the news drops that they re-signed JT Realmuto to a 3-year, $45 million deal with $5 million per year in incentives, which means it could be worth $60 million for a 35-year-old catcher whose ceiling now is probably 15 home runs, who I cannot see a world where JT Realmuto is going to catch at the same percentage of every day that he has in his, in the last 10 years. I don't think it's going to happen. A guy who just had a knee clean out last year, who's already shown signs of decline. I can't get on board. Javon says they're banking on a lot of their young prospect guys like Bo, who will be scheduled to become a free agent. I listen. I agree that that's what they're banking on. Javon, I'm not. I don't see it. Right? I don't see it. So, like everybody with Alec Bohm, I think I would have no problem if you told me. Here's what I'll say about Bohm. I don't discount Bohm. I think Bohm is a very good player, but the problem is your lineup is limited when you're banking on Alec Bohm to be your cleanup hitter. And I know everybody wants to talk about Adolis Garcia. Listen, I'm not sold that Adolis Garcia is going to be the Adolis Garcia from 3 years ago. Just not. I'm not sold on that. Right? If you had a different option as your prototypical cleanup hitter, and then you were telling me Bones batting fifth or sixth, completely different story. I don't have an issue with that. I just have an issue with the way the lineup is constructed right now, and the hopes and the prayers that we have for some of these moves to actually make out. And I think we've already seen the ceiling already on a lot of these players. So, we could go down the lineup and be like, what's going to be different? I don't know, because most of these players have already had career years to where they're never going to get to that point again. And it wasn't good enough at that time. So what makes us think that's going to be good enough now? And the Phillies still don't have a catcher of the future to replace JT. That's one thing that's a problem. I get it. I just would have said, I would have ate it. Right? I would have ate it and been like, you know what? Whether it's, Ryan Jeffers or Victor Carantini, who just signed, even if I got to go into a season with Rafael Marchand, right? And a guy like Garrett Stubbs as just serviceable options, because I loaded up the rest of the lineup. Not everybody's going to have a lineup like the Dodgers, right? I'm okay with that. I would have been okay with that. I continue to say that. Like, I would have been okay with all of that. The problem I have right now is this is running it back 100% again. And we're running it back and we're not making a lot of changes. And I think we have more questions this year than we've had in a very, very long time when it comes to the pitching staff and the lineup. So that's one of my biggest issues. That's one of my biggest issues. But listen, man, this has been great. Like I said, I like to stick to an hour for these episodes. It's been fantastic. We talked about the Jalen Hurts hate, right? We talked about the Philadelphia. My man Edwin checking in. Buddy, what's up, Edwin? What's up, Edwin? I know, no, Edwin's there. I know Pals. Pals is going to be the place to be over there on County Line Road in Huntington. Make sure you get over there to Wing Night on Wednesdays. You check out my man Edwin and my man JT, always checking it out over there at Pals. I know they got specials every single day, and I'm sure they're going to listen. One thing about Pals is they got a ton of TVs in that house, bro. So you go there, no matter where you sit, you got a good spot. It doesn't matter. You don't have to worry about sitting at the bar. You can sit in the middle of the floor. You can sit by the windows. When it's nice out, you can sit outside. TVs everywhere. So TVs today to watch those two great football games, man. So Edwin, as always, shout out. As always, man, thanks for support. Like I always say, we all support each other. So at the end of the day, man, this is what I'll say. I think the Jalen Hurts hate is ridiculous. I don't agree with it. And I think the one person that's going to bring this team down in Philadelphia with the Phillies is John Middleton more than Dave Dombrowski. And that's what I'm sticking to it. That's the way I'm sticking to it. So everybody, as always, get in the comments. Make sure you get over to YouTube. Follow the YouTube show. Got a couple big episodes, couple one-on-one interviews playing. A lot of big things coming up. Got a couple sponsors that I will be announcing in a very, very near future. Just putting pen to paper on that, which is going to be pretty tremendous. Like I said, man, I got a voice. And, you may not hear me on the radio anymore. It doesn't matter. I think there's a way to build your own platform, on the digital realm, even if you're not affiliated with a big radio station. And guess what? I can tell you one thing. For one of the biggest selling points that I've said all the time to a lot of the sponsors that have actually contacted me is I'm not a radio station, so but at the same time, I'm going to care about your product and your brand a lot more than that radio station is, because all that radio station is going to sell you on the numbers of the airwaves, right? They don't care. Did you ever hear some of those hosts read those reads? They don't give a shit. They don't care. They're just reading it to read it. Sometimes they screw it up. They're laughing behind it. They got a joke behind it, right? They're not even selling. They don't even care, right? So you're just throwing your money at them for that. But what happens when you actually get a sponsorship with somebody who actually, number one, runs their PR and runs their own PR marketing company and can help you not only with the sponsorship for the show, but with their own business as well. That's when you actually have somebody that cares. Okay. That's the difference. So you don't always have to look at the big guy. Maybe look at the small guy too. Just throwing it out there. So at the end of the day, everybody have a fantastic Sunday. Drive safe out there. I think you got probably like a couple hours left before the next round of snow comes on. Let's see what happens in this NFL playoff game. I'll be probably jumping on again probably later tonight or tomorrow, talking about these championship games, NFC and AFC. Can't wait to talk about that, to see what they're lined up for. And I hope to God, okay, that again, that we watched two fantastic games like we did in the Bronco and Buffalo game, because I don't want to see another blowout like the Seattle and the Niners game. Everybody have a fantastic day. Stay safe and stay healthy. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll catch you back here next time.